Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Deadly Premonition for the Xbox 360, and I'm playing this game on a 360 console. Deadly Premonition was a budget game developed by Access Studios and released back in 2010, and it received a really wild variety of reviews, positive and negative, and apparently it holds a Guinness Book of World Record for the most critically polarizing survival horror game. Truthfully, I think this is a weird game, and it's not necessarily going to be right for everyone. It has achieved a cult status for sure, but this game has a lot of things going against it that I think the general gaming population might not appreciate. But for me, many of these weird things, they eventually add up to becoming a fun game. It's definitely strange, and when I describe some of the problems and they start to stack up, it just might not make sense. Now, first, the colors are going to be washed out in this game. This is just the way it was designed. I think it's supposed to help reflect the grim sort of story that's being told here. It works, but, it is definitely pale. Now, talking about game detractors. The characters are melodramatic. They've got annoying stereotype personalities, and there are even some offensive type of portrayals of some characters. I know this was released back in 2010, but even back then I distinctly remember a few instances where I just rolled my eyes and had to ignore some embarrassing dialogue. There's not a lot of reality when people are speaking in this game. Now, the main character, you play Francis York Morgan, and he's this FBI agent with an unnatural hairline, and he has a really terrible smoking animation. He just looks foolish, and he has this really annoying personality. He always acts like he is the smartest guy in the room, and it's really grating. Some more detractors. The main game map is overly large, and it's very basic. The map feels like it just doesn't belong in an Xbox 360 game. Maybe in the prior generation Xbox, but not here. When you're in a room or in a corridor, they're going to feel scaled wrong, and the details in most instances are just draped textures. Also, you're restricted to accessing only parts of the map. I hate being kept from stepping over a tiny fence. It's very frustrating. Animations are not very good in this one, and some of the character models are going to be stiff and blocky. Look at how some of the characters run. You seem to run just fine, but other characters look really strange. Look at that. What are you supposed to be saying here with that animation? What an embarrassing portrayal. Here's another example of somebody running. That doesn't even look slightly natural to me. Let's double down on the same animation. It happens just a few seconds later. Strange to me. Just weird looking. Now, the visuals in general, they look like they'd probably better line up with an original Xbox to me. I know there are many amazing games for the Xbox 360. I just played Alan Wake, and the graphics are beautiful. That's the exact same system as this one. You compare the two, and it's a night and day difference between the games. You get to drive a car to drive around this map here, and you have no fast travel. It handles like garbage. You can upgrade your vehicle after a while, but driving is not a comfortable experience. You also have to worry about gas, and you really have to pay attention. Hopefully it's something that you pick up on before you actually run out of fuel. If not, you need to prepare yourself for potentially a long time running. It's going to be upsetting. You can also waste a ton of time performing annoying tasks, like fishing. Yeah, you can get some useful stuff by doing it, but this isn't something I want to do. This is a survival horror game. That's what I played this for. You're also going to have to travel a lot in this game just to get to various story locations, and to get there, you have to use this specific map system. Straight up, the map system is terrible. It's not bad, it's terrible. You can't zoom out far enough to make it useful, and the map changes its orientation in your sub-window depending on which way you're actually traveling in the real world. It's ridiculous. You'll get lost non-stop at the beginning. You're going to end up memorizing the entire stupid town. One thing I also hate, when you defeat an enemy or even if you just enter a room, any item that you can pick up or interact with will glow, so you know the item is there or you can do something. That means you don't have to search anything. Everything you need is there glowing for you to pick it up, so you don't have to hunt or learn or find anything. It's just sitting out there, obviously, for you to interact with. What fun is that? The story overall, it's kind of just strange. Ultimately, through the dream sequences and events, there is a bona fide main villain. There's a killer out there, but it's a strange one. Now, I've just described some of the embarrassing and annoying parts of the game, and there are going to be many more if you play this game. And that's not even talking about the plot of the story yet. But if you stick with this oddball game for a few hours, or at least give it until you get to the first boss fight, if you can get through that stage, I feel like you can adjust to this one. And actually, the game kind of hooks you at that point. I mean, at the first boss fight, the game is still a clunky mess. But the way they portray that first real encounter you have with this enemy is kind of wild. I was totally caught off guard when it happened. You're hiding, and now you have to try to time your escape. And they use a game style unlike anything that you've seen in this game so far. It's totally unexpected. Although, I have to say, there is still a logic that's missing here. Why am I afraid of a guy in a rain jacket that's holding an axe? I don't understand that. I have a 9mm pistol and a submachine gun. I just can't explain that logic. Okay, so what's going on with the actual story? You're an FBI agent, he talks to himself. Every now and again he puts a finger up to his ear like he's a reporter, and he's always referring to Zach, and that's basically what he calls you. He's talking to you in this game. You're trying to solve a bunch of murders committed by the Raincoat Killer. He's some person in a rusty-colored, stained raincoat. He's got glowing eyes, and he looks decent enough as a villain, I guess, although he's maybe a little shorter than I would expect, but good enough for a slasher movie, so he gets a pass. Now, the more common enemies you face in this game along the way are going to be just these supernatural, Silent Hill-type spirits or ghosts. It's just another game we have with a nightmare world. Some of them bend over backwards and they sort of crawl towards you, and others just sort of zoom in and try to attack you head-on. If one of them gets too close, it will try to choke you maybe, or maybe stuff its hand in your mouth. It looks really uncomfortable when it happens. It's kind of weird looking. I can't say that these are particularly awesome enemies, but they're passable. You're going to pick up various weapons and ammunition along the way. If you can locate the weapons with unlimited ammunition, they're great if you can find them. Now, I think they did a good job with the auto-aim in this game. I don't know, it just feels right. The R trigger pulls out your gun, and the left trigger is going to snap to aim. You release the L trigger, and you can actually fine-tune it with the directional stick. When you auto-aim, it really only zooms in for a body shot, like usually low stomach. You need to actually aim if you want to get a headshot, which is definitely something you want to do. I really like this mechanic. They actually make me work for a good shot. I think it works here. There are also some things in this game that happen, and I don't know how to react to them, because they're just sort of unexpected, and they just feel awkward. Police officers are going to react strangely to things that they probably shouldn't be reacting to at all. You're at an autopsy, and they're talking and acting surprised to hear about certain facts in the case. Their reactions don't make sense. These are professional law enforcement officers. The melodrama that they're giving off just is bizarre to me. This would not affect them in that fashion. But then, of course, the entire autopsy itself doesn't make a lot of sense. No one actually sounds like an expert, and people are making connections using evidence, and they're doing it too quickly. There's just no realism to the investigation that's taking place here. Now, somewhere in the first episode, you're going to find yourself in a factory, and there's going to be this flooded room. You flip a switch, and it drains the water from the room. It takes just a couple of seconds. Now you can walk down a flight of stairs, walk through the room, and into another area. Now, here's the problem. In order for that first room to be flooded, the law of physics state that all the adjoining rooms that are on the same level or lower would have to be flooded to that same level. After a while of wandering through some of these rooms, my brain can't get past the fact how much water would have to be present for all those rooms to flood. I mean, it's got to be billions upon billions of gallons. It's just not possible. It's weird. Logic is just out the window in some places, I guess. Music in this game, it's all across the board. None of it's bad. I mean, it's all fine. It's just all across the board. When you start the game, you get this ominous kind of fingerstyle guitar over the load screen. Totally works. Then you're playing the game, just meandering around, and there are certain whistling tunes that show up. And even though it's strange, I guess it's a meandering tune. I guess it works. And then occasionally a jazz band ensemble is playing, like you're in an anime movie. What a weird mix. You do collect money in this game, and you can use it to buy things, generally at really crazy prices. Did I just spend like more than $10 on a cup of coffee from a vending machine? Is that $35 for some crackers with no soup? Very strange. There's a lot of stuff in this game that also just feels kind of random. Like when you're driving around, Morgan likes to ramble about movie trivia. Is it interesting? I don't know, a little, I guess, maybe? I mean, I think it's kind of more laughable when it pops up. It just feels out of left field. I think the first time you run into it, you're going to wonder if it just wasn't something they threw in there to make your current task of driving not so boring. It probably was. This is a game where you're going to want to do all the side missions you can find. This is where you're going to get the actual useful stuff, like better weapons and unlimited ammunition. The base gun you have has unlimited ammunition, but it does crummy damage. You want something better like a shotgun. The side missions are where you're going to get them. But you have to uncover the side missions as you go through the game, so it's sort of a learning process. Now, when you interview people, you're sometimes going to get this profiling option. Basically, the game just puts whatever clues you found already right up in front of you, and it sort of tries to lay out the story for you. I guess I have no opinion on this one way or the other. You're not really doing anything, it's kind of passive. You're just letting the game fill you in on your status. I guess it's okay. When you load your game, when you're continuing from an earlier save, you're going to get a recap, and it's like a 10 or 20 second summary of what happened in the game so far. It's very useful, but it is of course recapping a ridiculous story, so I guess you take it for what it is. So you're probably wondering, after all these detractors I've mentioned and all the strange stuff that's going on here that probably could be looked at as a detractor, why would you ever want to play this game? I guess I struggled with that one a little bit at first, but honestly, you're probably going to want to keep playing it like me. Why? Well, after an hour or so, you really start to wonder, where is this crazy train headed? What can this possibly be building towards? It's just weird. It's just out there. I beat this one way back, and after starting from scratch again, even knowing exactly where it ends up, I'm still playing it again. It's a trip. There was also a Deadly Premonition 2 released for the Nintendo Switch, I think about a year ago, but I have yet to pick that one up. The early reviews were that the game was terrible with really bad frame rate, so I don't think I'm going to make that leap unless I can get a really cheap copy, or maybe on a better system. Well, that's all I have today for Deadly Premonition for the Xbox 360. It is certainly an odd one. Thanks for stopping by to take a look, and I'll catch you on another video.